Hello, this is Matt Butcher. I'm the author of the QueryPath library, and today I'm going to give a very brief introduction to the QueryPath library and give a simple example of how to build an HTML document using QueryPath. QueryPath is a library written in PHP that is designed to make it easy to work with XML and HTML, and also to simplify other common server-side functions like, for example, working with remote web services or working with a local database. What we're going to do today, however, is not anything so sophisticated as working with a Sparkle endpoint, for instance. What we're going to do is just create a simple HTML document and display it on our web server in the background. On the right, you'll see my text editor, TextMate, and on the left, you'll notice I've got the Firefox web browser running. So let's dive in here and create our document. We need one library when working with QueryPath. It is appropriately enough and QueryPath.php. So assuming that you've downloaded QueryPath and put this on your PHP path, you should be able to use a simple require statement like this and have really the primary library that you'll be using with QueryPath. Unless you're loading extensions, which are add-on features, this is really the only thing you're going to need. The first function we're going to look at here is the most important, the QP function. Now QP is a factory function. What that means in essence is that its job is to build objects. In particular, it builds QueryPath objects. Now along with simply building a QueryPath object, it performs at least one and sometimes three additional roles. Every QueryPath object needs to be bound to exactly one document. Usually we explicitly define that document, which is what we're going to do right now. It also allows you to run your first query against that document, and then finally, for advanced cases, you may need to pass in some configuration parameters that the QueryPath object is going to use in order to perform its task. So first, we're going to start out with a document. QueryPath can be used to fetch a remote document over HTTP, or fetch a local one from the file system. In some cases, with the right extensions, you can fetch documents out of a database by providing some SQL. But it will also just take some strings. You can pass in a well-formed XML or HTML string and have it parse that and use it as the document. What we're going to do today is use a very special string that comes built in called the HTML stub. What this is here is a constant that points to a stubbed out HTML document. So when this function is executed, we will get a shiny new QueryPath object that already has inside of it, is already wrapping a standard vanilla HTML document. And what I mean by a vanilla HTML document is that it has all the doc type XML declarations, the meta tags, and boilerplate stuff that you have to basically create every time around. But it doesn't actually have any content, and that's what we're going to do next. We're going to write your standard Hello World program, and we're going to start by adding a title. Now, in our standard HTML document, we have the head, and inside of the head we have the title element. But we need to actually select that before we can do anything with it. So we're going to search through the document with the find method, and we're going to look for the title. Now, find takes a cascading style sheet selector, a CSS3 selector. If you've ever written a cascading style sheet, or if you've ever used the jQuery JavaScript library, this should be very familiar to you. A selector, the selector language for CSS, is basically a way of identifying an element or a portion of the document and selecting that to, in CSS, apply a style to. However, we're not so much concerned with applying styles, we're concerned with manipulating it. So we're going to find the title with this simple CSS query. And now that we've got that title selected, we're going to add a little text to it. We're going to title our document Hello World. Wow. It's exciting, isn't it? Now, once we've set this all up, let's just take a shortcut and skip to the end. Let's write this out. The write HTML function basically takes the whole document and dumps it straight to standard out. Now when we run this on a web server, this will send it to the web client. However, we can also run this from the command line, and it will dump the output to the command line. Let's just execute that in the TextMate command line interface here. And this is what we've basically created with our one line of QueryPath, a standard HTML document. And look here, the title says Hello World. Now if we were to load this in our web browser, there's no body content, of course, but the title is correctly set at the top to Hello World. All right, let's add something to the body. Now, we found the title here. What this means basically is that the title is our working element, but we don't want to mess with the title anymore. We need to get a new working element. And so we're going to need to get to the body somehow from the title. Now, the easiest way to do this is to tell QueryPath to go back to the top of the document, and from the top of the document to look again for the body element. So this special root pseudo class will get us right back up to the top of the document, and then we want to find the body. So there again, we've used a CSS3 selector to find the location in the document. And now instead of adding text, we want to let's add an h1 tag, a header tag. So instead of adding text, we're going to want to add some HTML. Here's our h1. And inside the h1, we're going to, once again, entitle our document Hello World. All right, so now we've got our QueryPath factory function here with the HTML stub. We found and set the title. We found the body and added some HTML inside of there. Now I should note that HTML will replace anything in the body. Anything that's currently in the body element is going to be replaced with this. If we wanted to just add stuff on the end, we would use the append method, or if we wanted to dump something right at the top of the document but not erase later content, we might use the prepend function. And there are a whole suite of tools like that. But right now what we've done is created the body and just replaced the standard body. Saved it here, and let's reload it in the browser, and there we go. We have our Hello World right there. So there you have it. We've just created in 6 lines of code here a very simple QueryPath tool to create a generic HTML page. Of course, there's a lot more you can do with QueryPath, and perhaps in a later screencast I'll show how to use web services or how to parse XML or use the database layer, but this should get you rolling. From here, I'd encourage you to take a look at the QueryPath library that can be downloaded from querypath.org and play around with it a little and see what you can get out of it. Thank you very much.